What if I told you that to grow your biceps, all you have to do is just back-focused exercises? You'd call me a stupid dumb idiot, of course, but this is exactly the pitfall people can fall into with their forearms and even other muscles. Let's say we have Jimmy. He wants to know how to grow his forearm, and he's been told that all he needs to do is just do all his back work without grip assistance. So he says screw it to direct forearm training and continues getting stronger at his back exercises. Many months and even years pass until eventually he's hit a 500-pound deadlift. This shit is monumentous. He must have some insane forearms and oh shoot. You can also have the other case where Jimmy is told instead that he needs to do all these different forearm exercises or they'll never grow. You have to buy fat grips and do wrist curls, hammer curls, reverse curls, extensions, towel pull-ups, rope pull-ups, etc. Then he just gets overwhelmed and still doesn't know what to do. You are probably gonna fall into the same trap Jimmy did. But nah, I got you with the no bullshit method to grow your forearms. All you need are the 4 basic types of exercises I'll cover in this video. No, you don't need to get rid of your straps. You should do your back exercises with straps whenever forearms become a limiting factor so you can continue maximizing back growth. What you will be doing instead is separate grip movements. This results in the best of both worlds. So in this video I will cover forearm anatomy and their functions, the S tier forearm exercises, how to add them to your routine, and lastly, progressing your grip strength. Let's do this shit. So the forearms are composed of 4 main sections: the extensors, flexors, pronators, and supinators. Each of these sections is comprised of a bunch of individual muscles to allow your hands to move intricately. But don't worry, for example, even if there are 3 muscles for the extensor section, they all work as a unit when you train them. So you only have to worry about your forearm muscles in sections, not the individual muscles. The pronators and supinators are not muscles you have to worry about. They don't contribute much to your forearm aesthetics, given that they're smaller, closer to the biceps, and sometimes hidden under other muscles. The biceps also count as a supinator, except they're not part of the forearm. I'll still show you how to target the pronators and supinators though, but this isn't a video about growing your biceps. The sections are named after what they do, so like the extensors extend the wrist and fingers, the flexors flex the wrist and fingers. Finger flexion is the main thing taking place when you grip something, and it's what usually gives out. The pronators rotate the wrist into an overhand position or beyond. The supinators rotate the wrist into an underhand position or beyond. That's why some people on curls tell you to hold the dumbbells at one end, so it makes your biceps work harder to keep your hand supinated. Lastly, some forearm muscles also help curl the arm. That's why it's important to also do your bicep curls and shit. So what muscles are we going to be focused on targeting? Of course, all the extensor muscles and all the flexor muscles of the forearm, but there is one muscle that sticks out, the brachioradialis. This one is located on the side of your arm right here. Why are we focusing on it? It contributes a lot to curling your arm, so targeting it is going to be a bit different. And it's also the biggest muscle in the forearms, meaning it's going to contribute probably the most to your overall forearm size. Alright, so now we know the muscles and what they do. Next up, these are the 4 key exercises I believe in for growing your forearms. 1. A wrist extension, preferably with dumbbells. 2. A wrist curl, also preferably with dumbbells. 3. A forearm biased arm curl like the reverse curl or similar variations. 4. Grip exercises focused on holding onto some heavy shit for a long period. And optionally 5. A pronation exercise. I wouldn't really focus on supination because that should already be sufficiently targeted with everything else you do. Beyond that, there are some training tweaks you can make that I'll explain. The reason I picked these exercises because they will cover basically all the sections and muscles we care about efficiently. So first up, for wrist extension / wrist curl exercises, I highly recommend just using basic dumbbells for either. Barbells, even easy bars, can be harsh on the wrist. Your wrists are pretty intricate joints that have to move in pretty specific directions when under load, which gets restricted when you're stuck to a barbell, leading to unwanted pain. You want equipment that allows your wrist to slightly rotate dynamically. Make sure you have some forearm support, otherwise you won't be able to drive maximum force into the weight using your forearms. Instead, what will happen is your forearms will just rotate up and down to compensate for you trying to move the weight. For forearm support, I recommend just using a basic bench, your legs, the edge of tables or counters, and even gaming chairs if they have adjustable armrests. What makes the bench so good though is that you can change the angle of it. This allows you to not have to strictly have your forearms pointing horizontally. What I recommend is having your forearms point up slightly when doing this exercise. This allows you to shift more tension onto your forearms when they are stretched, which has been shown to positively affect muscle growth. This tweak works for both curls and extensions. Other pieces of equipment that work are cables, but they don't offer much benefit over just straight dumbbells. So this gives us 2 out of our 4 exercises for forearms. And the only other modification you can make is having your dumbbells be thicker. Using thicker bars or using shit like fat grips gets this job done. This forces your forearms to work harder to hold the weight. Not required, but this does help. Next up, for the forearm biased arm curl. There's a lot of options for this, but my most preferred exercise is just a simple reverse dumbbell curl or dumbbell hammer curl. But of course there are other options options. Reverse curls will basically be the same as regular curls except your hands are in an overhand position. This emphasizes the brachioradialis. Hammer curls are where your hands are in a neutral position, your fist kind of looking like a hammer. This emphasizes the brachioradialis a bit less but emphasizes the brachialis underneath the bicep, so it's like small trade-offs. Because of how hammer curls orient your hands, that pretty much rules out any barbells for them, except for two specialty bars, the Swiss bar and hammer curl bar. The only other options are doing cable rope curls, and even just rope curls with a rope attached to like a weight. One bonus tip, make sure you don't hold the dumbbells or equipment like this where it's resting on the base of your thumb. As for reverse curls, you can use all sorts of equipment except the rope and specialty bars. Again, I don't recommend barbells, instead I recommend an easy bar since it's easier on the wrist. Just pick either the reverse curls or the hammer curls, then pick the variation of that exercise that sounds best to you and then use it. And don't overthink it, the results will essentially be the same, but if you enjoy a certain movement more, of course you're going to get more out of it. This gives us 3 out of our 4 exercises. You can also use modifications like a thicker bar as well. The rope accomplishes this pretty well. Another bonus tip for both of these is to keep your wrist extended upward and hold that tension there the entire time you lift. This helps put more tension on the forearms. Lastly, all we have left are our gripping movements. My most preferred exercise is just a simple dead hang, which I do skip, but it's a really easy way to load up your grip without needing any weight at all. It's not rocket science to find other variations of this, just whatever you can grip that's hard to hold on to will get the job done. Just make sure you can hold on to it for at least like 20 seconds before failing, otherwise do something to make it easier to hold on to. In this slot, you can also modify the other exercises you already do, such as using thicker bars on pull-ups, bicep curls, and even deadlifts, but do know that it can come at the cost of your back and leg gains for a while. That's why I preach just isolating your grip and forearm work instead. For the optional pronation exercise, I recommend some form of kettlebell hand rotations, or doing the same but with a dumbbell that's only loaded on one side. Remember, the dumbbell has to be imbalanced, otherwise it wouldn't work. That's pretty much it for the exercises. Next up. No, we can't just throw in these exercises and then hope for the best. Also, even if you don't have a routine, stick around cause I got you. Having your grip pre-fatigued before exercises that use your grip can spark some issues. You wouldn't want to do pull-ups after dead hang, so what do I recommend? This is really going to depend on your split, but I take a look at your program and find the days that have the most exercises that really use your grip, but are not really meant to train your grip. Other good candidates are rest days, which don't have a back day after it. If you only have a chest, tricep, and shoulder workout the next day, it's completely fine to do forearm work the day before. So then once you find those days, take 2 of them which are around even apart, and then add the forearm work to the end of them. This is so that you train your forearms directly around 2 times per week. Case in point, this is just to maximize recovery between training your forearms directly and exercises that use your grip a lot so they don't interfere with each other. So how do we divide the exercises? We have 4 exercises in total, so I'm going to want you to divide that into 2 for each session since we have 2 forearm sessions. So at the end of a back day, for example, you could add wrist curls and wrist extensions, and then at the end of the second back day, you could add arm curls and grip work. For sets and reps, here's what I recommend. 2 sets of 8 to 10 reps for your wrist curls and wrist extensions. Higher reps also work. 2 sets of 12 to 15 for your hammer/reverse curls. This allows you to better keep your wrist curled up. 2 sets of 30 seconds to a minute for your grip focused exercises. This should total to around 8 direct sets of forearms per week, which is plenty to get really good growth. I suggest starting with this volume, then if you feel like you can recover, increase that volume all the way up to 15 sets per week if you wish. Do this in around increments of 1 to 3 sets, making sure you can recover from each increment. If you don't have a routine or even a gym membership and only care about your forearms, then I'd recommend this. Use backpacks with shit like books inside of them as weights, and just use that for wrist curls, wrist extensions, and hammer curls. Buy a pair of adjustable hand grippers. This is another exercise you can do for very high reps. Even as you go about your day, you can just bust out a bunch of reps when you feel like it. Lastly, find a place where you can hang on for an extended period. This will be your grip focused exercise. Anyway, that's it for the routine. But last up, we got probably the most important steps. So of course your grip strength will get stronger as you have to carry heavier and heavier shit during your exercises. But for the direct forearm exercises themselves, we will be using what I call rep range progression. This is also known as dynamic double progression. So let's say I was told to do 2 sets of 8 to 10 reps. I would start by picking a weight that I can only do for 8 reps, then the next session try to reach 10 reps. You may hit 9 reps first, and then the session after that you hit 10 reps. Once you reach 10 reps for both sets, then add 5 pounds to whatever exercise you did that for, and repeat this entire cycle, using your new weight as the starting weight. As for exercises that you do for time like the grip exercises, the premise is generally the same. Once you reach around 1 minute for any gripping exercise, add more weight, maybe in the form of heavier dumbbells, larger bars you have to grip, using towels instead of a bar, wearing a weighted vest for dead hangs, etc. Do this until your grip only lasts for around 30 seconds. Well, congrats bro, that's pretty much all you need to know. One last word of advice is to train hard. You want to get to the point where your forearms are crying and push past that. If you benefited from hearing this, no problem man, I'm glad to be helping you out. If you want more from me like being able to talk to me directly, subscribe to my OnlyFans, I mean only bars. The link is in the description. I can literally make you a free routine tailored to your goal of wanting GOONER forearms. If you don't like the sound of that though, that's alright man, you can always join the free community Discord. If you want further advice, I would highly recommend learning how to track your workouts with this video right here. Subscribe.